Hello, my name is Amy Sturkey. I am a pediatric physical therapist, and I'm here with Nathan Todd. Nathan is someone I treated when I was a very young therapist, and he has cerebral palsy, and I knew that I wanted to talk to people who have life experiences, and I saw Nathan on social media. You want to tell him about your social media presence?
Yeah, if you look on Facebook, The Loneliness Coach, on Instagram, The Real Nathan Todd, and I'm all about supporting people who are dealing with loneliness because I believe that everybody deserves to be seen, heard, and loved.
This time, what I wanted to talk to you about was looking back at your life. And when was the trickiest time for you in your life?
16 years old, 100%.
You want to tell us what made that time tricky?
Yeah. So one of the things that happens a lot in families that have children with disabilities is there's a super high divorce rate with parents.
It seems to be a magnifier, right? It either brings the relationship closer or pushes them apart.
Yeah. And it's something like 80 to 90%. That's the rate, which we're already in general at 50 or above 50. But I think the thing that that people in general don't know how to deal with, and definitely when I was 16, I probably didn't even recognize that this was going on. I was just in survival kind of mode and like, okay, let's get through this. But it's the fact that you, as the person with the disability, it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm the reason that this is happening. Even if that's not the case, that's what it can feel like.
Right.
And so when that was going on, that was really, really hard. And like what I would share with people, and this is just from wisdom, this isn't from actual application, all right? This is just from being able to look back, is, I would recommend, if you are able and capable of doing so, giving a child space to go into therapy. And I'm talking about counseling and that type of therapy. Even if there's nothing that seems to be going on, that's a good tool to have in navigating life with a disability. It's definitely something that if I was to go back, I would want to have that have happened, to be able to talk about like my experience with my parents getting divorced, and probably feelings that I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even recognize at the moment that they were going on, and nobody really knew to even ask the questions of me, because we were all dealing with this together, no matter what side you were on.
Well, the research says that when there's family stress, the most vulnerable person in the family feels it the most. So it would make sense to me that your parents were obviously having a hard time, but you were actually feeling the most stress in the family.
Yeah.
That it would be magnified, and you've used the word magnified twice, but magnified in you, that you were really feeling that. And especially if you felt like it might have been your interpretation as a 16-year-old is clearly, this is all because of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's I think that story, regardless of the story that we just told, happens a lot more often than we realize, is the fact that, oh, I'm taking responsibility for everything that's happening here. And it's not actually your responsibility to take on. It may just be things that you internalize that may not even be conversations that came from the people immediately around you.
Right.
It could be outside conversations Because in my work now, I also do a lot of work around ableism, right? And I like to talk about how it's like a funnel. And so it works its way down from the institution to your conversations with outside people, all the way down to you. And every time it works its way down, it just gets finer and finer, kind of like a laser. And by the time your self-talk gets down to you, I mean, it can be really strong. And so in that time, what was happening for me that I wasn't actually able to realize is it was impacting my view of relationships in general.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, that's not the best time for that to be happening
16.
when you're 16. And it's like, this is when everything is normally taking shape.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I'd want to go through this stuff again.
Right.
So that's like the craziest time that I've ever had in my life thus far.
So you said you didn't have counseling at that time. So did that just, it was just internally, were you acting out, or how did that express in your life?
Oh, whew. Yeah, that would probably be a better outside question to ask the people that were experiencing me other than myself. I'm sure there were times when I was acting out. And there were things that I just was mad about and didn't know how to communicate.
So you felt you were really just angry.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens a lot. We get mad, we get upset, and we don't have the tools to communicate that that's what we're feeling. Or we had the idea that, hey, you're mad, so that's a bad emotion. But what happens without us realizing it is we turn that idea of it being bad in on ourselves. And we say, that means I'm bad. Yeah. And I think that's something that's not talked about a lot. But yeah, I would lash out and do things. And it was just because I didn't have the tools to communicate in any other way.
So if you could talk to that 16-year-old, what would you say now?
Well, I mean, guess what? You make it at least another 20 years. So you gain a lot through that process that you don't realize that you gained in the moment. You make it through and you do a lot of things that you would never have dreamed that you were going to do. So everything is a lesson that we get to take on. And, we get to take everything for, just recognize it for what it was and not more than what it was.
Right.
And at the end of the day, most of the stuff that you're going through wasn't about you. Right. And you are going to be helping people in all areas of their relationships with themselves. And without this, as a life experience, that wouldn't happen.
Right. I can see, because you have cerebral palsy, I bet most kids go, I bet it's about me. But I bet because you felt different already, that it made you feel more that way of, gosh, this is definitely about me.
Yeah, I think that is one of the most powerful stories. And it's not even just about the circumstance we just talked about. I can look back at my whole high school experience and remember, we've talked a little bit about people staring, right? And remembering you see people stare and you automatically think, oh, what are they saying about me? They're probably not even talking about you at all. But it's very easy to take that on as a story. Oh, they don't like me because I've got a disability. Chances are they don't like you because you were an asshole and you did something that they didn't like. That's the reality that nobody actually talks about. And it's very easy to take on the story and give your disability more power.
Thank you so much for being willing to have that openness to talk about what was probably the trickiest part of your life. I just feel like those are things that other people with cerebral palsy probably, I don't want to say probably, but have a high likelihood of experiencing. And to hear you be able to talk about how you internalized it and how it affected your life is really empowering. Thank you so much for being able to share your feelings and articulate it so well.
I appreciate the opportunity. I think it's so important. And, one of the greatest things that I think this kind of lesson teach me, and it's something that we deal with a lot with cerebral palsy. So we deal with chronic pain, right? So I can feel pain almost 100% of the time. But as a protection mechanism, without even knowing it, I can disassociate from the actual pain that my body is going through. And I think that's one of the powerful tools that I actually have in the work that I do, and being able to have conversations like this, in the fact that, hey, guess what? If you're dealing with loneliness, we can have a conversation, and I have the ability, I can disassociate from my own pain, so I don't have to carry yours around either. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the most powerful things, is to give people space to talk about things that are actually happening, and from a non-judgmental stance.
Right. Thank you so much for taking the time to talking to me. We'll look forward to talking to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
If you liked this video and would like to be notified by email when the next video comes out, click the subscribe button here and click the golden bell icon and ensure notifications are enabled on your account.